In this video, we'll discuss the steps I took to start a game development company, why I chose to start off solo, and the plan for roughly the next 3.5 years. As a note, the actual steps to legalize the business are specific to the United States, but most of this translates well to other countries. Hello and welcome. My name is Peter. I'm the solo developer behind Growlery Games. I'm working on Growlery's first title, Risk and Riches, a roguelike deck builder set in the American West where you must face monsters and demons as you mine gold to build a thriving mining town. This video is about how I started a game development company, but as a disclaimer, I'm not a licensed attorney or a certified public accountant, and when given the opportunity, you should always consult a professional. That being said, let's get started. I began developing Risk and Riches months before I founded Growlery Games. Other than my time, there's no cost associated with starting development. I finished a prototype and had friends and family playtest the game roughly 6 weeks after starting development. After validating that I could complete the project and that it had potential, I began taking steps to make Growlery Games official. I already had a name picked out and a few logos from about a year earlier. I was playing around with it. But I reviewed the name and further refined the logo to make sure that it was something I would be happy with. As an aside, because a lot of people have asked what the name means, a growlery is a place to escape to when you're in a bad mood. It was coined by Charles Dickens and made increasingly famous by abolitionist Frederick Douglass, who had a designated growlery outside of his home that he would go escape to. In the US, businesses are handled by both the state and federal government. I live in Massachusetts, so I began the process by registering a limited liability company with the Secretary of State's office, which can all be done online, and in Massachusetts costs $500. I chose an LLC because I knew that I wasn't going to seek investors, and I wanted to keep the structure of the company simple, but I also wanted to take advantage of some of the protections that an LLC has over sole proprietorship. This is one of those points where I must say that you should consult with an attorney and accountant if you need assistance navigating the legal differences and tax implications. But basically, an LLC in the US provides some protection to your personal assets provided that you distinguish your personal and business assets. After registering with the state, I applied for what's called an employer identification number, referred to as an EIN, which is a unique ID provided by the IRS for businesses. This can be done online and is completely free. Don't fall for some of the fake websites that charge you to file for an EIN. All you need is the information you use to register with your local state government, and it's used for tax purposes. The last step is to register with your municipality. It shouldn't cost very much at all. I forget exactly what I paid, but it's less than $100. But it varies depending on your community. For the most part, this should be pretty uneventful paperwork, but it is worth being aware of local zoning and ordinances ahead of time, just so there's nothing unexpected that occurs. As a solo game developer, it's unlikely that there would be anything to prevent you from opening a home business, but every community is different, so you don't know until you look into it. If you're a small team, for instance, and plan on meeting at one location in one of the individual's houses, a lot of communities do have zoning or ordinances regarding how many vehicles are coming in and out of a residential property each day. And so if you have a grumpy neighbor, you're potentially opening yourself up to some problems that way. Now, everything I've gone over so far is specific to the US, but like I said, the process itself is pretty similar in most locations around the world, at least what I looked into. Again, always consult a licensed attorney and accountant from your area if you need further assistance. If you're approaching game development as a business venture, it's important, whether you're going to start a registered business or not, that you keep your personal and business assets separate, or at the very least, that you keep track of your game development costs and revenue. For Growlery Games, I opened up a checking account and provided an initial deposit just to get things off the ground. Because I did set up as a business, I was able to use the business information to open an account. But if you're not quite ready to start a business or plan on doing everything under your own name, you should still be able to open up a checking account that you're able to use just for your game development dealings. Having that bank account allows me to very easily distinguish my personal from my business assets, allows me to provide routing information from revenue generating sources such as Steam, and allows me to have a debit card that I can specifically use for business expenses. Not only is all of that important for managing the business itself, but for taxes and for legal reasons as well, such as maintaining the protections provided by an LLC. If you're completely lost, a good book recommendation for a bit more guidance is the Game Dev Business Handbook. One of the other things I wanted to cover in this video is why I'm pursuing game development as a solo developer, because I will say solo development is extremely stressful and difficult. As a solo dev, everything falls on you, whether it's your skill set or not, and even the things that you are good at are gonna suffer a little bit because you're stretched so thin. I chose to pursue game development as a solo developer for two simple reasons. One, I didn't know anyone with the complementary skills that I needed in a partner, at least that was available at the time. And two, I wasn't going to put off starting indie development further in order to find someone that I trusted enough to partner with. I was ready to go, and all the pieces were in place except for this one part. Founding a company with others has been likened to getting married, and in many ways it is. It's important that not only do your business partners bring skills and experience that complement your own, but that they're also someone that you can trust and communicate well with. I previously started an online entertainment company working with local bands. Spoiler, it did not work out. But I founded it with a longtime friend and someone with complementary experience and who I trusted. However, when it came to the business, we had different visions, and our inability to communicate those visions with each other was a major reason that business failed. So I wasn't eager to jump into a new venture with someone I didn't know based on that past bad experience that I had with someone who I was very familiar with. If the opportunity to start things with a partner or two had been present, then I would have taken that path. But unfortunately, the timing didn't work out, and I wasn't willing to put off going full-time any longer. So I'm moving ahead as a solo developer, and when it becomes possible, I do intend on building a small team. With that in mind, I did start this company with a 3-ish year plan in place. I want to release my first 2 games in 12 months or less of development, and release a 3rd game in 18 months or less. I wouldn't release something simply for the sake of it, but there is reality that generally I will be a better developer after each project. So my goals for each game differ and build on each other. My first game, Risk and Riches, for me will be a success if I release a commercial game that I'm proud of under Growlery Games. I'm gonna put in the effort to try and earn over $10,000 in revenue, which would make it more successful than about 70% of games released in recent years. And it would make the company technically profitable since I don't currently get a paycheck. This will be the first full game I've made using Godot, so mostly I'm focused on learning and improving my skills specific to the Godot engine. I have released games in the past on teams, never as a solo dev, so this is still a learning experience for me, even with having done it before. My second game, which will likely be an action roguelike, will be a success if it simply just makes more than Risk and Riches. I want to use it to expand my skills within the Godot engine, flex on what I'm learning currently in the development of Risk and Riches, but I mostly want to focus on improving marketing and communications. I already know that I can make games. The goal of this second game is to show that I can sell games, or at least that I'm improving on it. The third game, which will likely be an RPG management sim, a la Stardew Valley or Graveyard Keeper, will possibly be the make or break game depending on how the first 2 do. Success for the third game would be to reach at least $50,000 in revenue. The take home from that would be a little bit more than what I would make at a full-time minimum wage job in Massachusetts, and they would at least signal that it's viable to continue working on games full-time, given my circumstances. It would be amazing if one or more games greatly exceeds my expectations, but I think that those are reasonable goals and milestones to show a long-term viability of making games full-time under Growlery Games. That's how I've approached this venture, and so far things are working out just fine. Not everyone needs to found a company, certainly not as quickly as I did, but if you're going to approach game development full-time, it's definitely something to consider. Again, I'm Peter, the solo developer behind Growlery Games. If you haven't already done so, please give a like and subscribe and join me on this journey. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.